Good morning, good morning, good morning. Ank Uja Seneb, life, prosperity, and health to you. It is Sunday. And many of us, even in the media, it would appear to me, are very afraid, very, very afraid of being different, of saying the emperor is naked. Is there no space then in our nation for opposing views, for different viewpoints? And if we all think alike, how do you get the best possible outcome? If we all agree, how do we then get the best possible outcome? Because there will be no one to point out when something is about to go wrong. Because of your own experience, because of your own knowledge, because of where you're coming in, because of how you're seeing this. So dissenting views in Jamaica are now being locked up. It is Sunday. All day. Sunday all day. Another Sunday on the island. It's been a while since we've attended church. The building I'm talking about. How goes it? To those who told us that we were godless, without soul, without spirit, if we did not attend the building, if we did not attend the building, if we didn't put on our high heels and our Sunday best, then we were godless. How godless are we today, or how godless are you today after a year, a full year, and another Sunday, March 28, without attending the building? We were godless, you told us, if we didn't send our children to Sunday school, to the building. How sinful are you today, exactly 1 year since you have sent your children to Sunday school? Do you know what is cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is something we have to talk about within the context of Eurocentric Christianity. Because Eurocentric Christianity and Eurocentric Christians over the past year have been afraid, have been scared to answer the question of who they are, not being able to attend the building. Who are you now, not being able to send your children to the building? And so there's some cognitive dissonance there. Cognitive dissonance really speaks to conflicting attitudes, conflicting beliefs or behaviors that you're faced with that make you so uncomfortable, a mental discomfort. And this is what we're seeing. No, that you reject. Let me just finish that. That you reject the reality of a situation. And so many have rejected already the reality of their situation and have found a new gear. Rather than answer the question of who am I, now that it's been a year since I have fellowshipped with the brethren physically. Because you were telling the rest of us who weren't doing that we were godless and that we would die and go to hell. And here we are on this March, Sunday, March 28. And there you are. Welcome to the space where we know that to reach the greatest within ourselves, and where we know that, and we have known this, because we did not buy into their lie. We have disconnected ourselves from their consciousness. We knew and know that our spirit is more powerful than their white death. So that as spiritual beings having human experiences in African bodies, we have never been concerned with the four walls, the buildings, because those buildings cannot contain our spirit. We do not abide by doctrines, because doctrines are man-made and our spirit cannot facilitate doctrines, because we have disconnected ourselves from their consciousness. We know that if our God and our Savior look like our master and our enslaver, then that we were the principal agent in our own destruction. We knew that. To paraphrase Dr. Ben. So here we are on this Sunday, March 28. Exactly, we're in a year now of all kinds of versions of a lockdown. We're in a year, exactly 1 year, since they have closed the doors to the churches. Did they, when they closed the doors to the churches, did they close your hearts? Did they close your spirit? Did they close your soul? Did they close the essence of your being? And are you still a spirit, a child of God, a child of the universe, a spiritual being? So we're calling out cognitive dissonance within Eurocentric Christianity and among Christians right here in Jamaica. We can say all across the world, but we're going to pinpoint it and focus it like a laser beam right here on the island of Jamaica. We're calling out your hypocrisy. We're calling out your lie. We're calling out your cognitive dissonance. Look it up. So what do we do now? Where do we go from here? Now that we know that we do not need the four walls, now that we know, where do we go from here? Because if this is what made you a spiritual being, if this is what was guaranteeing that you would go to heaven, if this was what, I'm talking about going to the building, if this is what made you a Christian, then what are you now? What are you now? Welcome to the space. It's a Sunday morning. Sunday, March 28, 2021. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African. So we are on a tighter lockdown again. Last year, this time, it was the very same thing, and we survived. And for me, it is simple. They can lock down the country, but they can't lock down my spirit. They can lock down the country, but they can't lock down the warrior. They can lock down the country, but they will never, ever lock down the African that I am. So here is the point. We told you exactly a year ago what all of this meant, how long it would probably last, and what would happen. We told you exactly a year ago to pay special attention to the Disaster Risk Management Act. We told you that that was going to be the weapon that would be used against us to ensure our compliance. We told you that. We are not surprised at anything that is going on. We told you to watch the dictators. We told you that we were moving, it was a global reset, and that we were, in terms of Jamaicans, a part of that. And so that we also told you what we needed to do. Boost our immune systems. That was the main thing. Boost your immune system, remain strong physically, remain strong spiritually, because it is going to take and will continue to take strong spirits to survive. Many among us are already depressed. Many are suicidal and are seriously contemplating that. Hold your horses. Let us get back to our spiritual beings. Many, we are killing ourselves. And when it's not physical death, we are abusing each other physically in many spaces, not just domestically, we not just in the homes, but on the roads, in the supermarkets. We're abusing each other. And everywhere we go, everywhere we are as a people. So this is what, and this is amplified, because all of this was happening before, but it's amplified in the lockdown and the psychological trauma, the post-traumatic disorder that we're going through. So it's a lot that we're dealing with. And our children, we have been told not to socialize, and so we're not socializing. We have been told not to congregate, and so we're not congregating. We have been told not to march, and so we're not marching. And we have become obedient slaves once again. We are afraid to give our opinion if our opinion is a dissenting view to the prevailing view. That is frightening. Because I don't know if you've read Animal Farm. Have you read Animal Farm, that book? Have you? It's not too late to read that, because we are now in a situation where COVID-19 is Jones. And remember when the animals were asking, do you want to see Jones come back? Surely you don't want to see Jones come back. George Orwell is the author of Animal Farm. Get a read of that. Because even those among us who are supposedly intelligent, critical thinkers, book learned, educated through the highest levels, school system, tertiary PhDs and all kind of HDs, masters and MPhils and so on, are speaking with one voice. And if you dare speak with a dissenting voice, then you are the devil reincarnate. Now listen to me. There's such a thing called groupthink. Groupthink. And we told you exactly a year ago that this would happen, and that we told you about the preemptive programming, manufacturing consent. Remember those terms? Exactly a year ago we were using those terms. And we were explaining what they meant. Preemptive programming, manufacturing consent, groupthink. You know what is groupthink? It is when everybody in a group, call the group Jamaica, or most people, the majority, get to a decision, make a decision, without any kind of critical reasoning, or without thinking about the consequences or the alternatives. In order to avoid conflict, in order to avoid being the other, different, you join forces with the majority. So you have unchallenged and poor quality decision making. Nobody to say the emperor is naked. And that is what we find ourselves, and that's where we find ourselves at this time. And we see cognitive dissonance in all of this again. I know people, for example, who have taken the vaccine, who are showing with blood clots, who are showing with all kinds of signs and symptoms, who have refused to acknowledge that I was feeling better before I took this. And then I know people who are afraid to say that they know that. And many of us, even in the media, it would appear to me, are very afraid, very, very afraid of being different, of saying the emperor is naked. Is there no space then in our nation for opposing views, for different viewpoints? And if we all think alike, how do you get the best possible outcome? If we all agree, how do we then get the best possible outcome? Because there will be no one to point out when something is about to go wrong. Because of your own experience, because of your own knowledge, because of where you're coming in, because of how you're seeing this. So dissenting views in Jamaica are now being locked up. All right. That was Jinsu. And in the words of Nina Simone, are you ready, African people? Are you ready? Are you ready, black people? Are you ready? You know, I'll find that Nina Simone unplayed. Last time we played it, you know, there was someone who reported it. All right, so you're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running Africa, and we're going through until 10 o'clock. My name is Kabu, Kabu Ma'at Kiru. And we're flying solo this morning. A lot has been happening in our nation. A lot has been happening globally. Because we have what they call a pandemic. which many have rightly called a pandemic. And those who say pandemic are right, and we are not afraid to say that we agree with them. It is what it is. The fourth industrial revolution, the fifth industrial revolution, we're going to get there one way or the other, even if they have to drag us kicking and screaming. And so that it is what it is. So we're seeing a series of social, a series of political and cultural and economic upheavals. And these have been unfolding for a while. So those who say we are more or less inside of the fifth industrial revolution are right. But the fourth is still being rolled out. Of course, I mean, you can't fight certain things, and certain things you really don't want to fight either, because why? It's futility. It's futile to fight the convergence of the digital technologies. That was going to happen. We saw that coming way off. We knew that was going to happen, but it's really the convergence of the digital, the biological, and the physical innovations that is being rolled out now. We've been through this already. We talked about the first industrial revolution. We talked about the steam-powered factories and so on. Second industrial revolution, the application of science, of mass production and manufacturing. Saw in the third industrial revolutions the start into digitization. And we're seeing the fourth industrial revolution's technologies such as artificial intelligence. Last year, this time, we were having these conversations. We're seeing genome editing, augmented reality, robotics, 3D printing. And these are changing and have changed the way that we as humans are creating, are exchanging, and are distributing value. So these profound transformations that we're seeing, we're to understand them within the global context. And we must prepare ourselves. If we are not prepared by now, we're a little bit late, but it's never too late. You know, remember when we were talking about digital currencies and so on, and where that was happening already, and everybody was focusing on Bitcoin. And yes, we did go there too, because blockchain technology and so on, we talked about that. Last year we were having those conversations, and we were saying that we're not seeing it yet in Jamaica, but I'm sure that's going to happen. And remember all those interviews we had with the principals asking, you know, where was Jamaica on this, where was Jamaica on that? Well, now we heard from the finance minister, he's just rolled out, you know, a whole swathe of things, including, you know, the digital coin, digital money, coming up in a little while. All right, so so the change is happening, and the change is going to happen. And the change is, it is what it is, you know. It's a pandemic, right? And it's after the lockdown and after the change that some people feel as if you're being dragged kicking and screaming into these changes. And some people think that we're going to go back to normal. And everybody can't wait until the pandemic is done and we can go back to normal. But we'll never go back to what your idea of normal. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. The change has already happened. The pandemic has facilitated that. And so in 2022, there'll be a whole different thing that you're already participating in right now. You notice how things are hard, or they make everything hard now in terms of you going to the bank, accessing money, all of that. That's deliberate, because you can't take it anymore, and you're just going to sign up online. And, you know, it's part of the whole thing. We don't have time to go back through it all again this morning, but you know that already, right? That even the way your children attend school, even the way you view schooling, that you're not going to go back to what it was before. Yeah, they'll go face to face, but things have already changed. Remember last year this time? And I was saying it in March, actually. March, early March last year. One of the things I said in this space is that whatever is about to happen has already happened. Do you remember that? Whatever is about to happen has already happened. So here we are now in a situation where the country is being locked down every weekend for the next 4 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Don't make no sense though. All right, the joke of it is most of Jamaica has fallen in line with this, right? And that's another thing. Remember when they reported me to the Broadcasting Commission last year, and the Broadcasting Commission wrote to IRFM and they were investigating the things I said and so on. Remember that? Would you believe that I've still not heard where that investigation went? I haven't heard anything. So maybe it is still ongoing. I don't know. But they'll probably report me again after this morning, because I'm going to say again today what I said exactly a year ago when they reported me, which is that when did we start believing everything that government says? When did that happen? How did we get to this place without a spear? When did we start believing every single thing that they say? So a lot has been happening, and the nation has bought into everything, and there is no space for dissenting views. There is no space for opposing viewpoints. And if you oppose it, then you are going to be locked up. There is no space for the prophet. So if Jonah was alive today, they would lock him up. If Jonah was alive today, he would be locked up. If Jesus Christ was walking among men today in Jamaica, he would be in prison. If Mother, Father, God should come in person among us right now, she would be locked up. You don't believe me? Read your Bible. Read your Bible. Read about the prophets. Read about the things that the prophets were saying. Read about Esther and Mordecai and them. Esther is the one who said, I will go, and if I perish, I perish. Where is Esther? Esther would surely perish in this time. You just read what the prophet said to the leaders. We sing about Joseph we know the story of Joseph is not true, right? And we know that the stories in the Bible are stories that came out of Egypt, right? Ancient Kemet. Let us just underscore that right now, okay? But even aside from that, let us say you don't know that and you don't care. That's fine. Make it Europe. Make it Israel. Make it anywhere you want to make it. The prophets remain who they are. And that's why Daniel would be thrown again in the lion's den. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would be killed. You know, any of those prophets who walked out of the Bible today into today's Jamaica, I'm not even talking about anywhere else, into today's Jamaica, would be killed, would be imprisoned, would be chained, would be thrown in jails, would be thrown into the fire. Salome would be asking for the head of John the Baptist again. Dance for me, Salome, dance for me. Give me the head of Yuccanan. So there's no space for dissenting or opposing views. And if there are prophets among us, then they are silenced. They are being locked up. And maybe the pastor from Brownstown who spoke should not have spoken in the Jamaican jargon. He should have said it in poetry. Roots and shoots shall eat at your ears and eyes. That is from which book again? You know? But maybe you should have said it in rhyme and poetry and English. But look up any of the prophets and see and tell me if any of them would be alive today, or would be allowed to speak in today's Jamaica about what's happening. So here we are. Everybody, nobody, hardly anyone is brave enough to say that what's happening is a bag of foolishness. It makes no sense. So yesterday, for example, Jamaica in the town squares and outside of the town squares looked like Grand Market on steroids. That's what it looked like. And majority were not wearing masks. And if they were wearing masks, they were wearing them incorrectly. So yesterday was a super spreader day. Okay? For what? Because people are panicking. Because as they did last year this time, the way that the leaders of this country have communicated with the people is either deliberate or it is stupid. It's one or the other. There's no gray matter. Ensures that the people panic. So we have this psychological thing going on. And you hold a press conference, and not one time within the press conference do you say, do not panic. Do not panic, bye. Hold your horses a minute. This is how it look. And so you don't need to go panic by now because remember so and so and so and so. Not only that, remember that it's just, we hardly, for one entire year, they didn't even mention boosting the immune system. Now, when you hold a press conference to say that you're locking down the country and you're so eager to say it, you're salivating while you're saying it. And you're saying it with a smirk on your face. And you're saying it as if, the nation is being punished. And if you don't, and you go into Parliament and you name a litany of fines if you break this, 100,000 if you do not stand by the funeral protocols, 500,000 for this and 10,000 for that and 5,000 for that. But yet you have done it in such a way to ensure that these rules will be broken. You have sent people into a frenzy. The nation is in a panic. I've been talking to persons who are so afraid, and there is no voice of reason or of calm. Remember, they can't even go to church so that the church can give them some comfort. But they're panicking. And they're traumatized. This has been going on for a year. And exactly at the end of 1 year, you up the ante. And you could have done exactly what you're doing now without the panic and without the trauma to the nation. So anyway, I just like to say to you, who, whether you're in a panic or not, just to remain calm. Remain calm. Don't go rushing on the supermarkets. Just do your normal buying. Don't think that you have to buy up a whole heap of tissue and a whole heap of this and a whole heap of that and a whole heap of that. No. Just do your normal buying. Make sure that you're planting if you can plant. And don't let anybody throw you into a panic. Don't. You don't have to celebrate Easter. You don't. You don't. Put off Easter this year. Put off Easter this year. You know what is really hard? For someone like me, my father died in February, and we have not been able to bury him as yet. And my father has been a serious practicing Christian all of his life. He's an associate pastor. He's a minister. He's an adult Sunday school teacher. He's a pastor who's been responsible for many churches. And we have not been able to bury him. And now we're hearing for someone, I was driving to work this morning. We're burying our father this week. But, I was driving to work this morning and I thought about this, that for someone who has been a Christian all his life, that you have ensured that someone like him cannot be churched, cannot go into the church. And the way that you're communicating with us, and I have serious empathy for everyone who has lost someone in this time and has to bury them. Because it is so difficult. It is so difficult. I went to the police station late last week, because the new law now said from the lips of the Prime Minister, just out of the blue, and if you're going to bury, if there's only going to be a burial, and if you're going to bury, then you have to report it to the police station at least 2 days before. Went to the police station the day after. They didn't know anything about it, didn't know what to do. I stood there for a long time. I felt it for the people there, because the police officers, because they heard it in the same way I did, which was on the radio, on the TV, and they didn't know what to do. And I thought about people without support, who have lost loved ones, and what they have to go through in this time. It's almost like a betrayal. So you're grieving for your loved one, and you're grieving because the system has ensured that it is that difficult for you to bury your loved ones, which would be the beginning of the closure, So I was thinking this morning, so here we have my dad, and I've spoken about him a lot in this space, who will not go into a church, and you're expecting, the way they're talking to us is like you should just go to half an hour. You should just go to the graveside and throw down your loved one in the hole and move away from there. It's how it sounds to us, that's how we feel. And this is why the grieving process is even harder than it would normally have been. Another thing that's making it harder. At the same time, you're telling us a social distance. So even those who would be among you as part of the grieving process are not there. So it's a very lonely space and a very lonely time. And then you have those who are overseas, who are not able to travel. And there's a whole other story, So I'm saying this because I can empathize with persons who are in that particular situation. So we have that whole thing dealing with. And it is a shame that alternatives have not been considered. And this is what I meant when I talked about groupthink. That there's you could meet for 15 hours. The Prime Minister said they met for hours and hours and hours. You could meet for 15 hours. I know how that works. I've been a manager for most of my life. I know how it works. You could meet for 15 hours. And if there's groupthink, nothing is going to change. It is going to be what it is, what you as a leader went into that meeting with. So you have to encourage dissenting views. You have to encourage opposing views. You have to look to the ones who are saying, but and then you have to allow them to speak. Because that but is where you're going to ensure that you have the best possible outcome. I have been chatting for a long time, I know. But I'm going to open the phone lines this morning. I'm taking your telephone calls at 974-5079, 5051, 5043, and 1-888-991-4152. You know, it's funny enough because exactly 1 year ago, I did a program that was reported to the Broadcasting Commission. And I just know that this one is going to be reported to, you know. And it's exactly 1 year, you know. Trouble no set like rain. Hello, Hotep?
Morning, warrior Babu, Wagwan.
Morning. You tell me, Wagwan.
Good day, man. How you do?
We're up on the battlefront, you know. You know, we're Gideon boot.
Well, that is good to hear. Because they are listening as usual.
Yeah.
I'm here ask and I say, where the people, them, where the talker, them there, you know. So as a talker, I don't know, I have to make present, you see me?
Yeah, I don't do what them here ask for still.
Well, yeah, I do and I talk. Just to officially introduce myself, this is Queen Ifrica, the only one, you see?
Up a lie.
Yeah, man.
It took me a long time. There's no way I would have recognized you, Queen Ifrica. No way. You pulled something for me right there, so.
Well, what we do is take a 6-month break from the grid. You see me?
Yes. And come
6 months now, we let go them Silicon Valley and them algorithms little bit and coming in nature. You see me? So me hear the eye them a cry out and I say, Wagwan, you know?
Yes.
And we know Wagwan. Me just have to just call in and just make the eye them know, say, I know not different to go on from what plan. So,
well, that's the point, you know, Queen Ifrica. That is the point.
Action is concerned, you see me?
Hold on a little bit now and going at that. Talk a little bit more about what plan.
Well, what plan is human domination in a Kabu. Because you have some human who feel like them are got to. And so therefore them feel like them have the powers to do as them like. And the only thing the atoms never give them the power to do was to blow a breath. So because them couldn't blow a breath, them must figure out how to intercept it. And that is the greatest thing where all human afraid. All the one them we are doing, them are doing. That's why enough of them don't want to take it something because it come with mass death. But they are quick to use it to intimidate and to drive you away into a spirit of fear.
Right.
So we just make the world know, say, I don't know fear as the original Jamaican spirit.
Right.
You see me? And I there watch and I observe and I ball in our belly because we see say, yeah, I remember 2019 Rebel Salute.
Remind me.
When the spirit of the Most High walked through the venue via Queen Ifrica and beg the people them to pay attention to the changes we have come. Because it wasn't going to be normal changes. It wasn't going to be earthly changes. It's going to be man against God changes. It breezes over as usual because you don't know, and I never take no title as no profit.
Well, you see, that's the thing, you know. Well, you see, Africa, that's a point that I'm making, you know, is that when you, and it's not even about being, it's the spirituality of it, it's the ability for stop for a moment and for get in touch with the universe and for understand and for be a deep thinker too, which we are talking about in this space, but also to communicate that. And upon communicating that is the ability to continue to speak that into truth in the spaces in which you are, which you continue to do. Whether anybody want to listen, yes or no. But many persons like yourself, we're doing that.
One of the things I want to say to my nation this morning, fellow Jamaicans, is that today is a full moon, the 28th of March.
I saw that this morning.
Today.
Yeah. Beautiful moon this morning.
Yeah, it's not only full today, but there's an energy that is happening around it as well, where it is affecting us as humans. It can affect you in a loving way, and it can affect you in a in a war somewhere.
True.
So you can maybe feel for war or you maybe feel for love it. Want to pay attention to our energies, pay attention to how we feel.
Right.
Because it all starts there. You know what I mean?
True.
If you pay attention, all the families who they home now, husband and wife, when they love each other, we love each other, families we hate each other, when they like each other and end up go their home now, the system are go only benefit off of your pain. They might benefit off of your anguish. They might benefit off of your fear. They might benefit off of your disconnect with your Almighty Creator. Seize the moment. Seize the moment with your family to find God inside it. Find God in yourself. Them say Easter this. If you know so you love God for true, Jamaica was always only depended upon the God Almighty Spirit. Whoever you conceive or consider that God to be. Now is a moment when you can seize that. Seize that as a nation. Seize that as a people. Lock off on the phone a little bit. Lock off on the TV a little bit. After Kabu done, lock off on the radio.
I'm big here, go over talk about that.
Listen to one another in our household. Talk to one another a little bit in our household.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Make amends. You know what I mean? It's hard and it's rough to forgive. And it's hard to say sorry sometimes. And it's hard to ask for forgiveness. But just try.
Yeah.
Jamaica, we are not this. We are not this as a people. We could have never ever come from which part we come from as a people and come reduced to this in front of the world. Fight for who we are as a people. You see what I'm saying?
Well said, Queen Ifrica. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm just want Jamaica people to know, say, and I never ever run away. You hear that? And I Jamaican for true.
Yes.
And when time them no want to recognize the spirit of Jamaica and who we are, we are going to rise up from the dust, boy. And them say out of many, one people. And we want to talk to two out of the many there. And it's the original Jamaicans them where did they here before even the African slaves them did come. The new chief attack, some things they need to talk the whole life. Some original Jamaican black people did they here before the transatlantic African slave them
we came before Columbus.
And some
we were here before Juan de Ceras and Juan de Bolas. You understand?
Yeah. 1738 treaty with the sellout there.
Yes.
And them sell out original Jamaican people and a laugh off we know.
Right.
And we want to see who left here. Who left here as offsprings of the belly burn.
Yes.
With them original Jamaican they feel. I want to know to remember where them original Jamaicans they do for uno. Make uno offsprings them telling us say, we save uno from the English. The original Jamaicans.
Before time.
The slaves them from the English
enslaved.
and them turn them back
Yes.
we know. And I'll sell out the rest of we were left here.
The enslaved.
So, the slave masters them.
Yeah.
I mean, ask you,
We do not recognize the Maroons. We do not recognize. But we're gonna have to call a spade in many ways, Queen Ifrica.
Yes,
One of the things we're gonna have to say is that the Maroon Treaty, we do not recognize that cultural treaty. And I speak from a place of authority. You understand? As an African in Jamaica, that we do not recognize that. The new chief that you referenced must also let go of the Queen, because I read, I think they're telling a lie on him, where he's supporting the Queen and him defending the Queen and all of that. We're gonna have to have a talk with those.
They need to come talk to the original Jamaicans, them with them fellows, them are joking at them and now, them are crime and violence against each other. While everybody drive along in them AC car.
Yes.
And them and the rest of them are dead on.
The spirit of the Maroon Treaty is alive in Jamaica, and that is what we have to pay attention to. You are very right.
What them do to Jamaican people.
Yeah.
It's unfair, and the Almighty not sleep. And all of who thinks that them can come send more come a people yard and intimidate people and talk up in a people here. We don't know original Jamaican people. If you're there in the crowd, put up your hand. We don't know intimidation.
All right. Queen Ifrica, I couldn't say it better now. It's a whole heap of things to say, including understanding the energies of the time, full moon. And it's going to pull on you, and especially to our sisters who are listening. It's going to pull on you in many ways. Tap into the nature. Thank you so much. Give thanks, Queen, my sister, my friend. Give thanks.